Hey everybody, this is Perch, and Hiroshi-san posted a schedule of what it takes to produce manga or to produce his work. And it's getting shared a lot. Ramvi posted a tweet kind of about how this is unsustainable and bad and kind of everything else. And it's getting a lot of commentary about how horrific this all sounds, and Steve Lieber comes in and says, only 3 hours a week of free time and everything else. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see this chart. If you're just listening to this without looking at anything, it's going to be pretty confusing. So it's kind of your mileage may vary based on how you're listening to this video. But here's the thing. There's one. This could be a very short video in the sense of, hey, crazy thing. What you're comfortable in working with, the environment, the style, the pacing, the padding, whatever it is, whatever you're comfortable in working with, it's up to you. If you want to work this kind of schedule, it's up to you. You don't have to work this kind of schedule. You can work less. You can work more. It's your choice. Everybody has, to some extent, a choice of how well or how much they're working. And granted, if you choose to work like 1 hour a week, you're probably, unless that 1 hour and who you are as a person is so special that you're making $1 million, you're going to make a lot less money working 1 hour a week. And there's lots of employers and jobs that do not want to hire people for 1 hour a week. It doesn't work. This schedule that you're seeing on the screen, it looks horrific. This is a lot of work. This is basically 7 days a week. You're doing work, all week. And this thing here is, it's being this is being misrepresented. And let me explain how it's being misrepresented. First of all, is it true that manga artists, especially somebody like Hiroshi-san, is working this way? Not saying that Hiroshi-san is misrepresenting, but I doubt that this is legitimate, in the sense that, no, I don't believe that somebody is working, say on a Monday, from 9 to 6 p.m. Full-time storyboard, no breaks, nothing else, just heads down at a desk working this way. I don't believe that person is. I don't believe that the person is, on Mondays sleeping for only 2 hours and working on manuscript. This is an exaggerated version of a schedule. Does that mean that sometimes it's like this? It possibly can be. This is an interesting way of looking at the work. But it's probably an exaggerated version. This is not a weekly schedule. And right now I'm seeing a lot of comic creators, particularly in the West. And the problem is why? So the people in the West, the people in the US comic market are looking at this and they're saying, look, this is proof that, we've been hearing for the last, it's been going on for about 6 to 8 weeks, that manga is devastating the sales, meaning it's dominating the sales. It's taking over Western comics, and this gets shared around in the U.S. particularly as a way of saying, see, it's coming at this insane cost. This schedule is unsustainable. This is inhuman, causing somebody to work this way. Well, the reality is, I've been somebody who's lived in Japan. I know several mangaka artists. I don't know Hiroshi-san, but I know many other people, both within kind of manga and within game development companies, that this is not the normal behavior of how people work. Now, do mangaka artists work insane schedules? Absolutely. Do they work more than 40 hours a week? For sure. There's no doubt about it that people are working vastly in excess of 40 hours a week. This would be a schedule I personally would not be able to keep. I would not want it, nor would I be able to have this kind of schedule. This would be crazy. I'm not going to commit to, 5 hours of sleep Thursday and Friday and 2 hours of sleep on Monday. No, I would not. That wouldn't be what I'd do. But the reality is I met several of these artists and these creators, and this is not the schedule they're keeping either. Now, do they work long hours? Yes, absolutely. They're absolutely. I don't want to misrepresent this as saying that, because there's plenty of stories and blogs and material showing how many long hours mangaka artists work and in creating their material. But there's a couple things. First of all, in many cases, it's a team effort. So one of the big misnomers about anime and manga, well, sorry, not anime, but manga in particular, is that generally speaking, it's not a one-man or one-woman show. There's a team doing work. And so in many cases, this schedule is for the team, and the team is coming in and out doing different things. But this is, it's a different culture. And bluntly, whether you like the culture or dislike the culture, or whether you think this is sustainable or not, it doesn't inherently matter. It's up to every individual to choose what they're willing to commit and what they're willing to do. And this is, if somebody is wanting to do this because the value and the art and kind of what they're creating and the industry they're in this is what they want to have happen, then more power to them. It would be a shame if somebody was working this hard and making the equivalent of $30,000 a year US, but there are definitely manga artists that are making that kind of money, meaning making that little money, and they're producing great work. It happens. But the key is it is an individual choice. Manga as a creation center, as a industry, definitely has longer hours, tougher schedules, and more work. No doubt about it. Most American creators do not work this kind of schedule or anywhere close to this. But the great part about people, if you live in the U.S. or frankly in Japan or anywhere else, you don't have to work this schedule. If you don't want to work this schedule, you don't have to. And that's the thing in this tweet, and I'm looking at some of these responses, and they're going, this is inhuman, and this is terrible, and this is nightmarish, and everything else. Keep in mind, people are making these choices for themselves. They are. This is not slave labor. You're not forced to do this. If this is the passion that you want to bring, if this is what you believe you want to do, this may be what happens. The crazy part is if you talk to several tech or software startups, you will see very similar schedules. There are plenty of people who are inventing and innovating in the tech space who are working schedules like this. They don't sleep. Steve Jobs is a guy who, obviously very rich, very influential. We all know his name. He worked schedules like this. They're in his biography and in kind of learning about the man. And I think I'm one of the few people who've had a chance to meet the man, Steve Jobs, before unfortunately he passed. He liked working this way. That was his choice. He enjoyed it, and he did. So as you're looking at this tweet, and it's going to be one that's going to be held up as evidence to say, well, yeah, manga is it may be selling well in the U.S. and it may be beating Western comics, but look at the cost. Look at this cost. Remember, this cost is theirs to choose. You don't have to work like this. The people are choosing to do this. And you may, definitely in Japan, if you're going to be in the manga space, you are choosing an industry that is tough, that works like this. But the entire Japanese culture, in many cases, works long hours. It's very common, for example, if you work for a software company in Japan, you work until the boss leaves. And every now and then, the boss doesn't leave until like 2 a.m. And everybody just sits there and keeps working because you can't leave before the boss. The funny part is I've been in cases in Japan where I've gone to companies and I've done work, and this happens. The boss wants to keep everybody working, maybe because they're behind, maybe because they're just proving a point, and the boss will hang in there till 2 a.m. And then the boss finally picks up their coat and their hat, and they walk out the door like 2:13 a.m. And at 2:14 a.m., everyone else is gone. Like the boss leaves, goes down the elevator, and then there is like a stampede to the door and everybody takes off. And is that healthy? No. No, I mean that's not a healthy workforce by any stretch of the imagination, but it is how that culture has worked. And the funny thing is, if you're going to respect other cultures and other environments, then you've got to let them choose how they're going to work. Is that bad? Is that bad for workers? Is it bad for people? Absolutely. That's not healthy, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it is theirs to choose. And it's not ours, as somebody who maybe lives in New Jersey or Chicago or, Tampa. It's not our place to pick how people in Shibuya in Japan do their work. That's theirs to choose. I hope they choose healthier, sustainable lives. Absolutely. But it's on them. This is an interesting schedule to look at. It's there's a lot you can dissect here in terms of manuscript and finish up. Unfortunately, people are going to look at this picture and they're going to hone in on, oh man, only 3 hours of free time, not enough sleep. This is inhuman. And what they're going to miss is, hey, there looks like there's 3 days for manuscript, and then it looks like 2.5 days for storyboard and about a day for color illustration. And the meetings are pretty optimized here. They're going to miss the value, or they're going to miss the secret in this schedule. They're going to miss it because they're going to be focusing on, wow, this is inhuman work. And they're going to forget the structure of how work gets done. And again, the reality is, I know several mangaka artists, I know several people in this industry. This isn't how work happens. This isn't what actually goes on. This may be when the team is quote unquote on the clock. But, at 1 a.m. on Friday, people are out drinking. I'm sorry. You're in Roppongi and you are drinking your ass off. You're in Shibuya or in Shinjuku. You are drinking beer like crazy. You are talking about manuscript while you're downing beer. So, I'm sorry. I've drank with enough of these people. I've hung out with enough of these people. You're trying to tell me that Friday night at midnight, people are dutifully working on manuscript? I'm sure some are. Many are out getting absolutely plastered in Roppongi. And so I take this with a grain of salt. Again, I'm not saying Hiroshi-san is lying. Not at all. This is probably a general cadence of how maybe things get done, but people should look at the cadence and not the hours. And please don't be fooled by thinking that this is some kind of horrific thing to hold up in terms of how awful Japan works. If you're sending this around, you're retweeting this. Make sure you understand what you're retweeting. If you are doing the bad take of, wow, this looks despicable, this is bonkers, as I see some people saying, you haven't dug. You're not actually learning anything. You're not learning how the work works. But anyway, is manga a sweatshop? Yes, absolutely. Do people work long hours? Absolutely. Too long? In my view, yes. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't personally do it because I think it is wrong. But again, people get to choose what they want to do. It is what it is. I'm sure that will irritate people. Thanks for listening.